1. If anyone's store sells smart devices, you know that these are easily prone to getting stolen by shoplifters or worse people, especially during rush hour, and you can only keep an eye on either the customers at the registers or on the customers looking at the smart devices. It's been a crazy day, and I was the only cashier who was running all 4 self-checkouts, while the other cashier had called out, so the other 4 weren't open until the afternoon shift arrived, or when the head cashier got back to open those registers. But for me, I was the only one there, and there were lots of customers that were very needy. Many of the customers had items that required associates' assistance, like measuring lumber pieces, checking IDs for paint-related things, which wasn't too complicated to handle, because most of the people knew what they were looking for. Until the customers who wanted the smart devices, and the managers have heavily invested that we keep a close eye on the cabinet that they were held in. I always pray never to have to keep an eye on the cabinet, especially during rush hours like that day, and I now have twice as much to handle. I'll also mention that when it became very busy, I called my head cashier and managers to lend me a hand, 'cause I'm keeping an eye on the cabinet while the other registers were beeping repeatedly with "Associate Assistant Needed." But I was always told, "Okay, I'll be there in a bit," only for nobody to come back me up, and I'd just be running back and forth trying to handle everything at once. I got a small break for a second, then it became busy again. Now, I've got more than one customer wanting smart devices, and I was in the middle of assisting another customer who was trying to sign up for a store credit card. I hadn't even noticed until I looked up and saw them standing at the locked cabinet, glaring at me for not noticing them right away. I give them the "I'll be right with you" nod, and finish assisting my current customers before heading over to unlock the cabinet for them and making sure they didn't run off with them.
"I want to have a look at the white ring doorbell."
I'm searching through the ones we have in stock, and after much searching I tell them, "Sorry, I think we might be out of the white model. We have a few of the black models, or you can look at a different model." They get annoyed and say to me,
"No, I only want the white model. I don't want the black one or any other color or want to look at any other model. Why don't you just check the back for more?"
I'll see if I can have the manager check if there's any extra of the white model you want. I reach Eddie. "Hey Eddie, can you check and see if we have the white model of the ring doorbell?" "We should have some in the cabinet. Did you look carefully?" "Yes. I've looked through the cabinet and can't find any more, but the customer only wants the white one and only wants that version." "I'll come up and speak with them myself." It took more than 30 minutes before he finally got up to the cabinet, and the customer was glaring daggers at me for having to wait so long before finally getting assistance, while I was forced to lock the cabinet back up and went back to assisting the customers at the registers. Then, after helping the customers, Eddie then asks me, "Why didn't you call me sooner about not having the white model?" As if I am responsible for keeping track of each smart device. Didn't help that just before my shift ended, another customer wanted to look at said smart devices and asks me, "Which one do you think would look better in my house?" while showing a blurry picture of their front door. I just tell them that I don't know because I don't own one, so I wouldn't know which one would look best for their house, which results in them saying, "So much for being part of the youngster generation, and you kids claim to be tech-savvy about everything." I might look young, but I'm not into the latest technology, including using ring doorbells, because my parents don't believe or want to depend on smart devices to check the door instead of checking the door ourselves. Though it might be a bit safer, my parents are stubborn and not fond of change. 2. I have for you today a tale of a customer being, well, a customer, but not a very nice one. So I quit my job 2 weeks ago, but this is a story from a week or so before I quit. I was on the tills in a fairly large and understaffed as always retail store. 2 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon. I have a huge queue that's pretty standard for the weekend. Woman completely ignores the queue and comes straight to the till with a basket, to the side of the person I'm serving. I was in the middle of a transaction, so I didn't acknowledge her right away. She snaps her fingers at me. I go, "Oh, hi. The end of the queue is actually back there," and point. She goes, "I have an appointment that I can't be late for. I need to cut the line." "I'm sorry, you'll need to wait in the line if you want to be served." "What part of 'I have an appointment' did you not hear?" "I heard you. Unfortunately, I can't do anything about that. There is a line. You're welcome to come back after your appointment if you can't wait." She sighs at me and rolls her eyes before joining the back of the queue. About 5 minutes later, I hear her telling other people in the queue that they need to let her go ahead. They're saying no, and getting pissed off at her attitude. Finally, she gets to the front of the queue and puts her items down on the conveyor belt. I say, "Hi, is that everything for you today?" She stands there. And stands there. I go, "Hi, your total is," and I give her her total. "Is that going to be cash or card for you today?" She stands there and carries on standing there. "Ma'am, if you're not going to pay for your items, I need to ask you to leave the queue so I can serve other customers." "I've missed my appointment by now. I have nowhere to be anymore." "I'm so sorry about that. Would you still like to purchase these items? You wasted my time and made me late, so now I'm going to waste your time." She gets out her phone and starts texting or doing something I don't even know. "I'm going to need you to stand to one side until you're ready to pay, as I have other customers in the queue." She stands there and plays on her phone. I call the manager at this point to cancel the transaction and tell her she needs to move out of the way. The queue is getting annoyed by now. "I'm not moving. I'm wasting your time just like you wasted mine." "Ma'am, I'm scheduled to be here till 10 p.m., so it's not really my time you're wasting. I have other customers, however, so I'm going to need you to move." Finally, the manager appears and I give her a brief overview of what the situation is. She tells this woman that she can either pay now, leave, or we will call the police if she carries on obstructing the tills. She leaves, but not before threatening us with getting us fired, contacting head office, suing us for discrimination because she's a woman. Me and the manager are both women. Don't know how that would work. So that's the story. Customers are crazy. Sometimes. 3. Last summer I was working at my Red Craft store job, checking out people at registers, when my foot slid off the ancient mats and something in my foot's bones clicked. 3 days of work missed, workman's comp, and a few x-rays later, I'm in a medical boot that finally lets me walk without a ton of pain. A couple of weeks go by and I'm at work in the boot feeling much better, getting around at a good pace and even running faster than my middle-aged manager to grab a call. The night comes to an end and we start the closing process. An important thing to note is that at this store we almost always only have a maximum of 3 people, including a manager, to close the store. Some nights it's 2. This isn't a lack of employees, it's corporate orders to save money. So there I am, sitting behind the very large framing desk inputting the paperwork into the computer, while sitting on a stool to ease off my foot, when a lady stomps up and yells, "Finally!" Surprised, I lean around my computer and give a polite, "How may I help you?" She huffs and gives a gesture toward our floor. "Yes, you may. There's no one anywhere to help me. The only person is that girl at the registers that refuses to help me." Folks on registers cannot leave the area, but usually point you in the correct direction. I start to get up to help her when she says, "This place is a mess." And then, something that was a major dig at my coworkers. I can't remember her wording, I just remember being incredibly pissed at it. It was at this point I had an idea. Standing up, I say, "I'm so incredibly sorry, ma'am. What were you looking for? I can help you." "Your glassware," she said haughtily. "You know, for flowers." Of course," I say, starting to limp around the corner that, since now, had obscured everything below my apron pockets. "Vases are this way. We currently don't have any in seasonal, but we do have our standard stock." The lady literally gasped and stammered when I had fully emerged from behind the counter. "Oh, no, it's fine. You could just point me in the direction." No, it's fine. It's this way. Follow me." I proceed to slowly limp, favoring my boot more than I had in weeks, and adding some swing in my shoulders for effect. I apologized for the lack of employees on the floor, and brought her to the vases that were very easy to find, I'll have you know. I grabbed the vase she wanted from the top shelf, made a show of checking for chips, and asked her if there was anything else I could help her find. She straight up refused to look me in the eyes and muttered, "No, I'm good, thank you. I'm sorry," and walked away. I went back to the frame shop and had an amazing laugh. I hope she thinks about it at night while staring at the ceiling. 4. This happened to my brother, who delights in sharing this story, who worked as a lead mechanic for one of the leading vehicle brands in the country. So one day, this guy brings his family-sized premium sedan, purchased only a few months back, into the dealership, complaining that the car drives funny, and wants it repaired under warranty. So the service team is engaged, and they take the vehicle for a drive to get an idea of what's happening, and find that over 50 kph, approximately 30 miles per hour, the car becomes almost impossible to steer and keep under control. So they bring the car back, pop it up on the hoist, and look at the underside of the vehicle. As per my brother's words, it looked like someone smashed the whole bottom of the car up a foot and left the crumpled mess to fall back into place. In short, it was a bloody mess, and unsurprisingly, the steering was one of the many badly affected components. Old mate is waiting in the service customer area, so my brother approached him, gives him a brief rundown of the damage, and asks if he's had some sort of accident. "Yeah, I visited a customer on his farm and hit a few rocks getting to and from his property." Then the fun starts. "Okay, well, look, mate, this is something you'll need to contact your insurance company about." "Now, I have a warranty. You need to repair my car." "I'm sorry, mate, but warranty doesn't cover accidental damage. You'll need to call your insurance company and make a claim." "No, I don't need insurance. I have a warranty. You're obligated to repair my car." "Your warranty does not cover this type of damage. This is an insurance claim." Then the customer drops a bombshell, as several staff have wandered over to listen into the conversation. "I don't have insurance because I don't need it. I have a warranty." At this, jaws drop, and my brother just looks at this guy in disbelief. "You didn't take out insurance when you bought the car?" "No, like I said, I don't need it since the car comes with a warranty. Look, I'm sick of fucking going around in circles with you. You need to fix my car." From here, the dealer principal is called in, since this bloke's just not understanding. And he's getting louder, angry, and starting to become abusive since the dealership won't repair the car. It gets to the point that the cops are called, when they've had enough, and tell him to leave the premises, and he refuses. So old mate sits his sorry arse down on the low fence at the front of the dealership to take this up with the police, since they'll sort this out. So, after a while, the police turn up. One officer heads to my brother and the dealer principal, and the other goes and talks to old mate at the front of the dealership. My brother explains to the officer the damage to the vehicle, what's happened, leaving them being called, and the cop is just stunned when he's told the guy has no insurance. The officer goes, "Right, we'll sort this out," and heads over to his colleague. So old mate is gesticulating wildly as he's explaining to the officer what's going on when the first officer joins them. The first officer basically gives him the "this is how it is" talk, and the guy is still waving his arms around trying to convince the people otherwise, but they're both standing there, arms crossed, shaking their heads, basically saying, "Mate, you're wrong, and you fucked up." This goes on for a while, and then it finally dawns on old mate. My brother said you could physically see the guy deflate when he realized he's trashed a $70,000 car less than 6 months old, and he has to foot the bill for repairs himself. Old mate looked simply devastated as the first officer heads back over to my brother, and the dealer principal says, "Okay, we've got him to understand. He's going to leave without any further issue." The guy got in his car, drove off, and my brother never saw him again. I don't think he'll be making that mistake again. 5. Background. I used to exclusively sell cell phones inside of a middle-class retail chain. This service was actually ran by a different company than the retail chain itself. We would provide all of the nicer cell phones, iPhones, and Samsung Galaxies, $800 to $1,500, and the retail chain provided the cheaper prepaid cell phones. My team and I would sell all of the phones, but Only we could sell the nicer phones. At the time of this incident, I was the team lead for my store, meaning that when it came to the nicer cell phones, I was the final word. We never discounted the phones directly, but various service providers would authorize rebates and incentives, and that was it. When you bought a nicer phone from us, we would directly pull up your service provider account and set up the phone directly, and they would provide any discounts, credits, or rewards. We were also able to report fraud through this system. This story. It was a slow day at the cell phone station, so I decided to do a cold sale lap of the store, leaving a newer team member, Tina, in charge of the cell phone area for the 20 or 30 minutes it would take to find someone to buy a phone. I was gone maybe 10 minutes before I got a call from the store manager asking me to get back to the cell phone station because there was an issue. When I get back, I see Tina is about to cry while an overweight Karen is holding a small piece of paper and yelling at her. As I get closer, I hear the word coupon, and I immediately know what's about to go down. Less than a week ago, Tina had accepted several fake coupons. My day off, and her partner called out without telling me, and severely discounted the nicer phones on the fake coupons. She was new, and we hadn't covered that you can never discount the phones yourself, nor that we never had coupons for these. Afterwards, I made it clear to her that our team will never discount the phones. Cut back to the present. I see the store manager watching from around the corner. I waved him off and strode forward. Facing Tina, I asked what's going on. Tina let me know that the Karen wanted the newest iPhone, and was trying to use a 99% off coupon. Before she could continue, the Karen cut in. "I don't know what the issue is, but she accepted these coupons last week from my friends." Karen then pushed the coupon toward Tina, like that would magically change the situation. I told Tina to take an extra 15 in the back, and then turned to the Karen. I was annoyed, and I think it was showing just a bit, because Karen flinched. While I hadn't been in too much trouble over the coupon issue the prior week, I had been passed over for a promotion to another store because of it, and I was not in the mood. Not only was she basically trying to steal a phone, she had specifically targeted Tina. Who told you that Tina would accept this ridiculously fake coupon? Was it Kathy? We had records for the nicer phones, and Kathy's account was banned from every one of our locations because of the prior incident. Karen became pale at the last question, and I think she realized that she was in trouble. She tried to mention something about the retail chain accepting these type of coupons, and I laughed. I explained that the retail chain didn't have any say over the nicer phones, and that we worked for a different company. She tried to insist that we had already taken these coupons before, so why couldn't she use them now? At this point I was done and told her in no uncertain terms that we will never discount the nicer phones and that she would not be purchasing phones from this location, period. Fortunately for me, the store manager had hung around, and I called him over. "Can you call asset protection?" I picked up the coupon and handed it to him. Using a fake coupon is stealing, and this woman knows Kathy from last week. Karen tried to run, but we were lucky in that the police were already at the entrance for an entirely separate issue. I heard later that Karen did get past them initially, but the police were informed of the situation and were able to detain Karen before she made it to her car, and then arrested her. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened after that, but I did give a statement about this incident 2 weeks later to the police, so I think charges were filed. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, episode 173. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit the like button. If you'd like to get the videos a little bit earlier, you can support the channel, and me, through Patreon for as little or as much as you'd like a month. You can find the link to that in the description. Or you can probably just search for Hellfreezer on Patreon, and it will obviously be my page. You can also click on the Teespring link in the description to get yourself some Hellfreezer merch, and you can make donations during this video, and any video, and when I'm streaming as well, if you wish to do so as a one-off basis. This is not required, but is very much appreciated, and helps me put sandwiches in my face. Okie dokie, I don't think there's any other business today. I think there's a shout-out at the end of the month, but that's a few weeks away. So let's move right along to Hellraiser's question of the day. And today's question is, how do you feel about the idea of fully automated stores? I mean, self-checkout's becoming more and more prevalent, but you still need a person nearby to help with, checking age and things. But I believe Amazon a couple of years back, was trialing a fully automated store. I'm not entirely sure how the logistics of that would work in terms of preventing shoplifting, but it's something they were trialing. So I find the idea weird and a little uncomfortable. It took me a while to get used to using self-checkouts, and I actually quite like them now. So I'm wondering if I would probably eventually get used to the idea of a store like that. Especially, if it was fully automated, there's no reason it couldn't be open 24/7, right? That is one upside I can see. But, and I think it would work if it was filling a particular niche, but I certainly wouldn't want to see all stores become automated with no people at all. That would be kind of horrifying. The job loss alone would be astronomical. But if it was just an additional thing, maybe. Okay, let me know what you think in a comment below. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.